This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. You can find all my work at mjmunoz.com, including the plethora of podcasts I'm about to publish. This episode of Story Over Everything is episode 15. It's going to be published April 21st, 2023, and in it I am asking, how do you plan to publish, or rather, market your books? And I'm going to let you know right away, I plan to market my books via podcasting and by reviewing and buying, and by staying in touch with certain pop culture media that is current and relevant, and some of it will be current and relevant, and some of it will be not so current and relevant, and that's basically the plan. But I will elucidate a little bit as I can, as I have the ability to say something, and so that's my plan. And I guess before I continue, I would like to hear what your plans are for marketing your books and your writing and yourself as an author. And I'd be curious to hear what other people's tactics are. Mine is basically this. I don't feel like as an unpublished author, as somebody who doesn't have a degree or anything like that, I don't have a body of work or an accreditation to point to. Did you see that? Did you see that bird? Yeah, I saw it. It was very cool. So I'm going to build a body of work for myself to point to. And I plan on, writing books primarily, but also doing podcasts where I review things, discuss things. Again, these things will be, pop culture relevant and therefore tangentially relevant to, what I'm into. So, for example, I'm a little bit of a failed podcaster because I have hours and hours and hours of podcasts banked up already that I was trying to be cheap. I was trying to be cheap or economical, frugal, however you want to say it. And I basically ended up spending a lot of time and energy building up a backlist, building up a backlog of things that some people have listened to, but I've gotten very little attention, in the dozens, and I don't need dozens to make a career as an author. I need hundreds or thousands. So basically all of the stuff that I've watched or, I guess basically watched, read to some extent too, but more watched. I haven't done so many analysis. I haven't done so much analysis on anything I've read, except maybe some comic books, but regardless, or maybe I could use those too. Anyway, I can basically repurpose a bunch of my old content that I never really used on a large scale because I didn't put budget anyway, just if I get on iTunes, if I get on all these different app stores, if I get a fully official podcast service, which I do have now, I'm paying, X amount of dollars a month for it, and I can have as many podcast feeds as I want. Well, I figure I can use that to establish podcast feeds, and basically I'll just pull all my old material and I'll release it at whatever pace I determine will work best for me. And I think I'm actually going to recut them because some of them I wasted a lot of time on, so I will work on them. I'll re-listen to them and I'll hear what I can cut out, and I will chop the intro and outro, and I'll put a new intro and outro, and I think I'll just do that. I think that's clever, and I'll just pull it down from wherever I had it placed before. Either pull it down or, repurpose, update it. That technicality I'll have to think about some more later, but that's not for now. But because I just need the broad plan, and once I figure out what I'm going to do, I can figure out the details of executing it. But I'd like to make myself a subject matter expert on certain things that are germane to what I'm talking about, and maybe I'll kind of pace myself, and I'll eventually do that plan of re-releasing everything so that I can focus and really concentrate on building up a market and building up a group of people, building up an email list and such, so that I can, because I think the email list is the best thing to do for an author. That's what I keep hearing. And I was even listening to, Narwhal. I was hemming and hawing a bit about how much I will share about my plan to, recut and reuse this information, but I'm actually considering the fact that Story Over Everything is a chronicle of how I'm doing all this. So yeah, I'll tell you the nitty gritty of the marketing and the thinking out loud that I'm going to do regarding, how exactly I'm going to market all this stuff. So let me give you a couple examples. So right now I have, I don't know how many Kamen Rider reviews I have. So Kamen Rider is a Japanese television show and movie franchise. Actually, in May 31st of 2023, Fathom Events is going to be having a special screening of Shin Kamen Rider, which was done by Hideaki Anno of Evangelion fame. If you know anime at all, Evangelion, you would know he was part of Studio Gainax, which did big things like Fooly Cooly and Karikano, which is an adaptation of a romance, which is fabulous actually. But anyway, so Anno is like a really big deal. He's maybe an auteur. He did Shin Ultraman, which came out, I think, last year, 2022. And he did Shin Godzilla, which came out in like 2018, 2019, something like that. And that's a big deal because Godzilla and Ultraman are like kings of tokusatsu. Tokusatsu is a genre I'm into. Kamen Rider is also big in tokusatsu. And I feel like there was one other, they were doing this initiative. It's the Shin Japan Heroes universe. And it's Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and I feel like there's one more, but Godzilla's, the big monsters. Ultraman's a giant who fights monsters. Kamen Rider's a little guy who fights monsters, but still he fights monsters nonetheless. And that's about all I can say in a short fashion. It's Japanese special effects stuff, live action for the most part. The focus of like the Ultraman a little bit is the giantness, and the focus kind of more of Kamen Rider is that he transforms into a superhero, a superpowered man, basically, and he was gonna be brainwashed to do evil, and he was saved from that, and then he becomes a hero, protecting life above all else, even above justice and above, I can't remember what else, but it's a very interesting thing. But he's basically a karate bug man themed after like a grasshopper, and Anno's doing this movie, and again, he's doing Shin Godzilla, Ultraman, and Kamen Rider, and who knows if he'll do, I don't think there's any rumors or talk of him doing a Shin Super Sentai, which would be Super Sentai is what became Power Rangers, and that was all Power Rangers, Super Sentai rather, and Kamen Rider were both created by the same man, Ishinomori, who's a manga creator who went on to create a character called Poitrine, Beautiful Mask Poitrine, who I believe inspired Sailor Moon, which is a huge anime phenomenon that basically made the career of Naoko Takeuchi. I don't know what else she did, but I think Sailor Moon's all she had to have done. That was her achievement, or it was her achievement, and I think a lot of that was based off of Poitrine, which again was developed by Ishinomori, who also did things like Cyborg Zero Zero. Again, if you're into anime or manga at all, you'll know some of these things that I'm mentioning. Hikaider, which is huge in its own way. But anyway, that's just some of what he did. He did other stuff, or more serious, more like he literally did an adult thing, which I don't plan on reading because I don't really need that. But anyway, he did that, and he did something called Gilgamesh, which I don't think has anything to do with the actual Epic of Gilgamesh, but it is something I plan on reading. But anyway, because my interests are varied, I'm into and I want to make comic books and tokusatsu stories and other things. I figure basically what I'm going to do is take all these things that I've been working on over the years that I haven't taken and really turned into something, or I haven't exposed it to a very big audience, and I will repackage them slowly as time goes on to help me basically spin up this stuff into marketing material for the things that I'm working on. For example, the Growbug series of books that I have, the children's picture book series that I have, that I've talked about here on Story Over Everything previously, it focuses on basically it's all homage to tokusatsu characters. So I mentioned Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai. Each one of the Growbug books, that's the first 4, they're inspired by those franchises and things that appear in those franchises. And the 5th Growbug book is actually inspired by Digimon, which is something I'm currently covering on mjmunoz.com by making an audiobook or narrating chapters of this Digimon book that is going to be coming out all this year long of 2023, or at least It started in April of 2023, and I believe it will continue until April of 2024. I don't have proof of that, but they did say it would be a year. But a year is relative. The Persona games are supposed to take place over a year, and they take place over like 9 months. So it could be something kind of similar. Hey, we started in the spring, we finished it in the winter, or late fall, and that's good enough for us. That's a year. We're going to call it a year. So I don't know about that, but I do know that being that one of the Growbug books is based on Digimon, and there's this Kamen Rider movie coming out, and I want to cover Kamen Rider in a weekly fashion as well. And there's this dub of Ultraman that's coming out right now. There's the dub of the Ultraman movie, which will come out, I hope, 2023. But they're also dubbing one of their television shows, which I watched the whole thing of it already. I already did reviews on it, and I could just repackage them and just not mention it's the dub, or I could do a fresh new dub review and just have 2 series reviewing the same show, one that I read the subtitles on, one that I listen to the dub on. I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, but it actually kind of doesn't sound like a bad idea. But I can basically use all these tokusatsu things that I like, that I'm into, to help me market my tokusatsu inspired children's books, which I am in the process of finishing I'm in the process of finishing. I feel like I'm going to have to do some rewrites, because what I was going to do, which I've mentioned before again on Story Over Everything, is rewrite or reuse the Growbug books, the 5 Growbug books, and just basically paste them into the body of a prose novel. And because I wrote them very much like prose, some less so than other, but basically they're prose with pictures, and when you have the pictures, it'll elevate what you're seeing or what you're reading, and it all works together. That's how I decided to write them. I decided not to rely heavily on the imagery and have the imagery there to be dazzling while you read my words. A la books done by Ruth Sanderson, who does these wonderful oil paintings. They're absolutely gorgeous, and does children or retellings of children's books or children's stories like Cinderella, and I can't think of anything else at the moment. But the Cinderella is gorgeous. It's absolutely a beautiful book, and there's tons of text in those. The page count or the word count on those must be much higher than modern day picture books. And even though these are going to be picture books, I still want them to be verbose enough. Some of them are, one is around 940, and I've got one that clocks into like 2,500. And I'm okay with that, because I think it works for the story, and I'm an indie author, indie publisher, so I feel comfortable, pushing the limits and going ahead and doing that. But anyway, regardless, my plan was to upcycle those 5 books and just copy and paste them into a prose novel that goes into the lore and deals with the world of the Growbugs, and I tried doing that. I'm basically to the part now where I could just copy and paste each of the 5 books and then continue the rest of my story. But in developing the story of these Growbugs, which are these magical guardian angel things that protect children from terrible things in the night, the story has transformed itself, and it's come alive, and it's becoming something bigger than I thought it was going to be, and I like that. It gives me pause a little bit, because I don't know how far into 2023 I'll be done with writing that book, but I don't plan on spending. I hope I'm finished by July. It's April right now, but it'd be lovely to be finished within a month or 2. I guess that's about right. I guess June is the 6th month. It'd be great to be done within 2 months, 100% done, because as I'm developing the prose novel and the lore of the Growbugs that it contains, it's kind of expanding the 5 Growbug books potentially, and I may even have to rewrite the 5 Growbug books to tell them from the perspective of the Growbugs, and I'm gonna have to try to restrain myself to go ahead and do that rewrite and do it simply and make it like slick and concise, as opposed to blowing it up into something really big, which one of them, I'm so tempted to blow it up into something big, because I wrote this whole backstory and synopsis for how this adventure was facilitated happening with this one kid, and it like ties into my my Holy Heroes books that I want to do too. And honestly, there's even a little bit of tying into the Holy Heroes books in this larger prose novel that I'm writing, because I thought, I want to have a character like this and like this, so that they're a pair of perspective characters, and they ended up feeling a little bit like, or reminding me of, these other characters who I have in the larger Holy Heroes book series, and it made me think, I should include these characters, or I should make it potential so that these characters can go on to be involved in these later stories, and I very well may do that, and if I do, that will be interesting. But anyway, I'm trying not to let myself get distracted, and I'm trying to focus on just writing this stuff. But my overall point is, and why I'm talking about this here in the marketing thing, is I'm talking about these tokusatsu things, and there are plenty of people who are close enough to me demographically, who enjoy this stuff, and who I think as adults would enjoy reading these books. As I like them as an adult. My wife isn't into tokusatsu at all, but she thinks they're good stories. So I'm hoping to work on that group of people, that cohort, and make them a market. And some of these people, I don't know how many, but some of them who enjoy these things are having kids and sharing these things with their kids, and I'm hoping to market these books to their kids. And I figure while I'm talking about these shows, I can include the information about the Growbug series inspired by these tokusatsu heroes, and just make a pitch for it, and maybe build up some traction, and build up traction for those, get a crowdfunding thing going to fund these books, and I'm hoping that'll work. So, and I'm hoping I can also pull those people into my lists, especially if I take what I currently have right now that is on the website, and I kind of decommission it, pull it down from there, and then republish that stuff, re-release it, and maybe I can go and track down my other feeds and somehow terminate them, so that I just have everything going through this one new feed that I'm controlling in this better way, and I can gear the releases towards doing the marketing for that. Another thing to say is I am launching right now, I just started this Red Panda podcast, and I'm going to cover all 120 episodes of Red Panda within the space of 2 years. 2 years, 54 a year. No. A little longer than 2 years, 120, yeah. So if I did 54 times 2, that's 108, which that's not enough time. So over the course of 2 years plus, I'll cover all of Red Panda, including the four pulp novels that Greg Taylor wrote. And I want to write pulp-era superheroes as well. So the plan is going to be basically to have a long-term relationship with people who are into pulp heroes, who are into things like Red Panda, and to kind of, create a market, create a community, create a group of people who I'm in contact with who enjoy that stuff, and then be able to say, hey, you've enjoyed this so far, and now I have this thing going. And I don't know how soon to start that. I don't know exactly... Well, anyway, I don't know how soon to start that or how exactly to spin it, because I don't yet have a base. I don't have enough written in those superhero stories. I'm still working on developing those and fleshing out the pulp era, because, anyway, I'll just stop that. The pulp era of my superhero series is multiple series. I have partially planned out, about a third of it planned out, and I want to plan out the rest of it, and that would tie in very nicely to talking about Red Panda. And I don't think, maybe I'll start with Red Panda, and I'll go from there and start talking about Shadow or other things. And certain advancements might help me with that, or maybe I need to find another radio pulp hero, something in the vein of Red Panda, that I can focus on and talk about and have common ground with people. If you like this thing that I like, then check out this. Which I've talked about the concept before, but only now that I officially have the podcast thing going, that I'm paying for, the paid podcast service, do I really have the opportunity, and did it really give me the the space in my mind, or the notion, the spark to think, I can actually upcycle all of these old podcasts into marketing material for this, for these projects I have for writing. One caveat, one bit of trouble is that I'm nearing, I don't know, I'd say I'm about 30% done with the Growbug Tales novel, which will, encapsulate, it'll be a whole prose thing for the Growbug stuff. I'm like about 30% through with that, but I have a fantasy series idea that I wrote a little bit of. It has to do with dragons, and I wrote one of those. I have a manuscript for the first children's book of that, and I think it's lovely. And I had planned years ago, because I wrote it about, 2, maybe 3 years ago at the most, I think. I had a notion of how to expand it into a series, because I wanted to explore more of this dragon lore and mythology and everything. And as I'm working on this Grow Bug Tales, I think, oh, I should do the same thing with the Dragon book. I should write the other manuscripts for the children's books and then spin up a prose novel, short prose novel around that too. And then I can have both of these things, and I can have, one series is 5 books long, the other book is about the other series is about 4 books long, and then I'll have 9 children's books to my name, plus the other 2, collected books that, upcycle those children's books and are prose only, so there's no pictures, and I can really use that too. And then I'll have, boom, a big body of work, 9 children's books, 2, chapter books, or I think chapter book is the right term for it. Chapter book or young, middle grade, I think is what it would be, books. And then, hey, I'm an established author. I have this track record. You can see the quality of my work. These are the kinds of things I write. It's children's, but it's more than children's. And now I'm going to move, now that I have those, and I have those out in the world, and those are all out in the world within, 2023 and 2024, God willing, then I'm going to kind of move on from those, bring them up every now and then as things I've done, put them up on sale, or, do whatever, actively, softly market those as I'm continuing to write my other stuff. And I can also say, hey, I'm the author of 9 children's picture books, about, 5 of them are about this, 4 of them are about this, and they each have a really cool, short novel that goes with them. And, your kiddos will like it, you'll enjoy it. And, boom, that'll be kind of a thing that I have, or I can have those as a landing page on my website and have the podcast. And the podcast, I always, say, go to mjmunoz.com. That's a strategy for sure. And then I can move on from those, kind of maintain some marketing presence on those, and keep them, as something advertised on the website that the podcast sends you to. So as I'm reaching like-minded people who like the things I like and like the way I think about things and analyze things, they'll check out the website and say, hey, I want to see what else this guy has. And they'll see those things there. And then I can move on to the bigger series. That's, 2 years from now in 2024. Hopefully I'll have a handful of the pulp novels done with these superheroes, and I can start marketing those on the feed that contains Red Panda. I think that would be fabulous. Or, Red Panda Report, my reviews on it. So, I think this is the strategy I want to use, and it feels a little convoluted and a little crazy, but I want to be entertained by these stories anyway. They're things I'm consuming anyway. So I may as well take that consumption of the stories and turn it into content for people and marketing for myself. And that's it. I offer you all this entertainment and insight into these things for free. And then I also make or I let it be, I make it known to you that if you like these things that I like, that we can have some sort of exchange, some sort of partnership, and work together, and you can buy the books and I can sell them to you, and we can, both be a little happier when it's all said and done. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for now. I've got a lot of thoughts spinning, but I need to stop and redirect myself. So with that, this is MJ signing off, and I hope that you come back for more. I hope you enjoyed that. Go to mjmunoz.com to leave any questions, comments, or other feedback you might have. There you can find all of my analysis, art, and fiction. I cover books, tokusatsu, comic books, anime, and more. Look around. You're sure to find something else that you'll enjoy as well. This has been a Story Over Everything production.